Hello, this is ScreenRant.com. We're interviewing Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, among many other things. How are you doing? How's your
Evan, here's what I just heard before I came here. This is your first interview, right?
Yes.
So first off, congratulations, right? This is like watching the first Michael Jordan game. You didn't know he was going to be a superstar years later, so we get to see your rookie appearance, first appearance right here. So thanks for letting me be your first one.
Thank you,
Yep.
yeah. So you've often been heralded as comics' first like real rock star creator. You know, there have been legends and greats before you, but I've heard that's...
I think there's a group of us that,
Right.
that came up, so it wasn't exclusive to me.
Yeah.
And part of it was that there was a magazine called Wizard Magazine that came out. This is all predates the internet, and the thing that sort of changed the game at that point was they had a list of the top 10. Top 10 writers, inkers, colorists, pencilers, whatever, right? And then they put our photos next to our names, right? So before, in comic books, everybody was sort of faceless. I mean, you knew the names because they had the credits, but here they actually started putting our faces so people would recognize you. And then obviously the sort of sales of books were going up, and all of a sudden, you know, knowing who the creators were and what they looked like,
Right.
all of a sudden people would recognize you, especially at Comic-Cons, right? And I mean, you had to be at the right room. And so it happened to a lot of us, not just me. So.
Oh yeah, no, totally fair. But with that label of like rock star, it makes sense that you're collaborating with someone like Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, recently Ozzy, I mean, the man's in his 70s and he's still doing it, right? I've always said, anybody that can pick a profession and have a 30, 40, 50-year career, I don't debate whether they're good or not, whether I like them or not. I tip my hat because I know how hard it is personally to be relevant for decade after decade after decade. There's no easy way to get there. And so people like Ozzy and the Stones and even groups like Kiss, right? We can debate whether you like their music or they're the best at what they do. They've survived in a shark-infested industry for decades because most people come in the music industry and they pop and then they're gone. And they pop and they're gone. And to be able to do that, and so Ozzy's still doing it, 70, you know, he's 73, I think, to still be doing it. So I recently directed a music video for him on a new song called Patient Number 9. There's actually a big balloon I just walked by on the way here. They're like, oh man, I didn't know, and it looks cool. I didn't know they could actually make inflatable balloons that awesome. And then Ozzy and I are going to be doing a signing this weekend. They're going to be bringing them down. We're going to have a good time together.
You can tell there's a lot of influence from like rock music and stuff in, especially your work on Spawn. What about that kind of music and stuff?
Yeah.
What about that speaks to you?
I would disagree with your assertion.
Oh.
I didn't really pay attention to music growing up. My brothers did, but I was, you know, I'm sort of weird. The music I like is like soft music in the background so that you and I can have a conversation.
Right.
And I don't need it thumping in my head, right? I want to have a conversation. When the only music I listen to now, for the most part intentionally, is if I'm writing, I put on like sound scores from movies that have no words in it. So I just sort of get lost in sound as I'm typing words because I don't want to hear words while I'm typing words. So the artwork I would add is way more just being a dude and having brothers and being competitive and just having a lot of energy. So I just poured all of that onto the pages. And oh, by the way, when you're stuck in a room by yourself, right? I mean, again, I'm getting to be an old man, so I predate the internet. There were plenty of days I was in a room all by myself. There was no social media or anything, and you have to entertain yourself, right? I don't think people realize that making comic books is like being a novelist. You go in the room and you say, hey, don't bug me for 10 hours,
Right.
and you get it done. And so how do you entertain yourself in those 10 hours, right? I had some friends, when they were drawing, they'd have the TV on or they listened to the radio or whatever. To me, I just sat there and just went, man, what would be cool? This would be cool. So almost everything I've done drawing was to get me through that 12-hour day
Right.
and the deadline that day, right? So I never asked anybody's permission. I just went, wouldn't it be cool if Spider-Man looked like this? Wouldn't it be cool if I put him in a pose like this? Wouldn't it be cool if I sort of made his webs look like this? Wouldn't it be cool if I did this with Mary Jane? And luckily, some of those changes were a little bit dramatic because I thought that artistically some of the characters I worked on had been repeating the same tricks. And instead of updating over the decades, it was sort of everybody repeating something, and then I go, well, why don't we update it? And so it was a big jump, and people noticed it, and luckily, not only did they notice it, but they liked it.
Yeah.
And that was, I'm going, oh, good. They like what I'm drawing for myself. This is a win-win.
So what you talked about just with updating characters and stuff,
Yep.
I think that definitely comes through with Spawn. Spawn is not as static as a lot of characters you see in other from other companies.
Well, here's what I say. I've always said that Spawn was sort of like Batman not owned by corporate America, right?
Yeah.
So he, look, I mean, this is going to sound egotistical, but when I write Spawn, I just go, what would I do? Right? Because I'm just like, I just don't give a shit about a lot of stuff, and I just like go up against big corporations, and I don't care. I don't want to be pushed around. And so the metaphors in Spawn, which are heaven and hell, because I was like, what's the biggest ideas I can come up with? And we're taught as a young age that like good and evil, that's where they're at. To me, are just sort of metaphors for like government, corporate America, that and your bosses, people that have authority over you, right? And the whole plight of Al Simmons, the man who is Spawn, is just, I just want to live my life. Just leave me alone, get out of the way, and let me live my life, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm a flawed man. I will make 1,000 mistakes, but I don't need any of you guys sort of influence in any of that. And that's it. That's all he wants, is just go, if I get rid of you and I get rid of you, I can just do it. It's why I started my own companies, right? I just go, I don't have the personality for very long to be able to take sort of orders, right? I mean, even in baseball, my coaches go, Todd, you're pretty uncoachable, right? So I'm like, no, I know how to do this, coach.
Right.
So that mentality's been there for a long time, and I just sort of pour it onto the pages and start corporations.
So many other comic heroes that aren't owned by Marvel or DC they've kind of faded over time, but that's definitely not true of Spawn. So I was curious, what do you owe to Spawn's enduring legacy? I mean, it's like Spawn and the Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah. This one I think's easy, right? This one's easy. This is easy math, right? We just sent issue 332 to the printers.
Ooh.
So let's do the math real quickly, right? A book a month, 12 a year, 10 years it's 120, 20 years 240. We're almost at, we're at 30 years. We're celebrating 30 years, right? Coming up. So we're 330 issues. It's called attrition, right? You just keep coming out. Good, bad, or indifferent. My sales, if I was to map it over the 30 years, have sort of done this, right? We're on an upswing right now. You keep coming out, people will go, oh, I've seen that title. I've seen that book. They don't have to buy it. They don't have to, but they've heard the word Spawn. Oh, it's there again, it's there again, it's there again. And after decades and decades, all of a sudden, he becomes a staple in the industry. So when you're talking about sort of A-plus characters, he's part of that conversation, right? So I don't know there's anything overly unique about Spawn. I mean, again, I get to break a lot of the corporate rules. Well, Spawn will kill you if he feels like it, right? Batman never will and Superman never will. So I made that abundantly clear in issue number 5 of Spawn, where he killed the pedophile, Billy Kincaid. I just go, this dude will take people out if he needs to, because why? I would. Personally, I would. Somebody did something to my kid, I'd kill him, right? So, and I'd go to jail for it. So I get to play all that out in the comic books. But let me just tell you, there are a lot of good ideas, Evan, that if they had done 300 issues, they would have some of the same success, right? I mean, there's, people at times go, oh, Todd, you're so lucky. I mean, I have gone nonstop for 30 years. I was on a train to get to San Diego, and I was inking a cover. right? Last night, I had to finish writing a script till 2 in the morning, right? This morning I got up and I was finishing up some paperwork or something. Like, I don't have to do all that. My career is doing good. I'm making money.
Right.
But I'm doing it, right? I'm going, and so whoever's sleeping right now is just going, you're just giving me an advantage because I'm working today, right? And I've seen it with people like Robert Kirkman, one of my partners. He's the same way. I've seen him on airplanes, and he's, right? And he's just working away because we've got deadlines. And it's once you get used to having to put out a book, not only once a month, but now I've got 4 books, so it's once a week. It becomes routine and people aren't used to it, and I don't know, attrition, that's it. So
you mentioned sales, and you also mentioned that Spawn is really on an upswing lately.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, King Spawn, it broke some records. Like, it was doing like really good numbers.
Right.
Did you expect that to be like such this breakout like monster hit?
So it all began with Spawn 300. So we know Spawn 300 is going to sell. Why? Because it's an anniversary book, right? All anniversary books, 100, 200, 300, they all sell.
Of course.
So we knew we were going to get to 300. But not only was it 300, but 301 was going to set a world's record because the longest independent creator-owned book was Cerebus at 300 issues. So 301 was going to set a record. That, to me personally, mattered more than anything else. So we began to sort of beat the drums and go, hey, can I get people to care about 301 as much as I do? And so we sort of built this momentum towards 300 that worked, because issue 300 came out in 2019, just before the pandemic. Only one other comic book outsold it for the entire year, which was Detective 1000, right? It beat me. So we were other than that, we were the next biggest. There was no other DC, there was no other Marvel book. It was mine. And oh, by the way, 301, that was a continuation of that book, that was a record-setting book, came in at number 11. Just so we're clear, there were in the top 11 in 2019, there was no Marvel or no DC title that had 2 books that were in the top 11. The only title that had 2 books in the top 11, Spawn. Now, we go to the pandemic and it's like everything sort of goes down. I go, this is a perfect time for me to expand. Oh, by the way, the setup was in issue 300 and 301. And so if you look at a couple of those covers and there was like a bunch of characters, that was just me going, just wait, it's coming. So King Spawn comes out, sets a record. I can go through each one if we want, but I'll keep it quick. King Spawn comes out, sets a record. Gunslinger comes out, sets a record. Scorch comes out, sets a record, which was a team book. And before all that, just a couple months before all those, and all those came out last year, Spawn's Universe came out. And that set an Image Comics record. So we just hit it over and over and over. I had in my mind what I thought the sales were going to be. They all elevated way higher than I thought, right? And we've got an announcement coming on Friday that is going to be the comic book, easily the comic book event of the year, and possibly in terms of sales, could be the highest selling book of the century for any comic company, for anything coming out. So Friday, we got the big announcement coming. We're going to crush it. We're going to crush it.
So one thing I was also curious about, so Spawn does have, like you said, 30 years, it has such this long history, and I know you've been working on it, nonstop. So I'm really curious, do you ever envision a sort of endpoint for the Spawn mythos? Is there any sort of old man Spawn or anything like that you could think of?
I've said before, I had the end of Spawn probably by issue 3. So it's still sitting there, right? I hope that story never gets written, right? So it's interesting. Sometimes I go into Hollywood and you pitch ideas, not Spawn, but other ideas, and you have these sort of pitches, and they go, oh, so what's the end of it? And my answer is like, what do you give a shit? What's the end of Superman?
Right.
What's the end of Batman? What's the end of Spider-Man? Why are you asking for the end? Why aren't you asking, can this last for 30 years, right? Like, we're talking about the beginning, you're already talking about the end. Stop it, right? The ideal situation, the home run for everybody is you create a character, it lasts decades, it's relevant, you drop dead, and it still keeps going, right? Spider-Man is now going. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, unfortunately, are not with us, right? Simon and Schuster, or Siegel and Schuster are not are not doing Superman. Walt Disney's not doing Mickey Mouse and Goofy. Like, but they're going. The characters are going. Right. That should be the ultimate goal. That to me, it was always that. I want to do Spawn. I'm going to do it till the day I die, and then I hope after I die, whoever takes over does twice the job that I ever did. And they're going, man, we wish Todd had died earlier if we knew we were going to get all this stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely. I want you to die early. Yeah. So, yeah.
That'll definitely be the headline for this one.
Evan says, Todd, I wish you were dead. Yeah. In his first interview.
No.
Evan, ... had a short career. So,
screen rant.
Yeah. Oh, screen rant.
Got to put that buffer. Yeah. I didn't say anything.
That's right.
Screen rant.
That's right. On behalf of Screen Rant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any updates about the Spawn movie?
We do. So we were debating whether we were going to make another big announcement at San Diego. So all the parties involved, we sort of went and we debated, do we do it here or do we do it at New York Comic Con, right? And because of the timing on a couple things and when we're going to go out and sell and all these other things, we decided, it's like, you know what, let's just do it in New York. Right, we'll do it in New York. So, so are we moving? Are we adding pieces? Is it being developed? All of the above, yes.
Okay.
So, the best I can say right now, besides all that's been happening, and it kind of got slowed down during the pandemic and then picked back up, especially given that for a while the only movies people were going to during the pandemic were superhero movies, minus James Bond. Right? Now you're getting Maverick and some of the big blockbusters that are coming back to normal. But New York Comic Con is going to be a big announcement.
You've been in comics for such a long time now.
Yeah, way longer than I thought. Yeah. My 15 minutes of fame has lasted way too long.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm really interested to hear what you would say is better about the comics industry today than when you started, and what's worse?
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot. The thing that's the best is that the talent is as good and as high and as skilled as I've ever seen.
Oh, definitely.
I think part of that is, because you've got movies now and comic books are kind of sexy. They weren't when we were doing them. You were sort of a geek, but now everybody sort of knows comic books, and it's a word that doesn't make people sort of shriek. And the internet came along. And so all this talent that was now hidden previously, because people were living in different parts of the globe, that I couldn't discover, that nobody could find. They're putting their stuff up on, their Facebook or their Twitter feeds or their Instagram, and you can see it, or they're going to DeviantArt or whatever. And you're going, oh my gosh, right? So, I was doing a bunch of work at one point, and I had one creator from Korea, one from Russia, one from Poland. I'm trying to think what the other one was. One from Spain. And even now, like, the artist on King Spawn is, in Spain. And we've got inkers scattered all over the globe and whatever else. So that's the upside. Like when you go down to Artist Alley, it is phenomenal. Oh, totally. The skill set is phenomenal. The downside, if I was to say, and maybe I'm just going to be biased there, the downside is that because of the internet, and because you can just do commissions, and because you can just go to shows and you can make a ton of money, and a bunch of people are going to make a ton of money this weekend in Artist Alley, it's getting harder and harder for me to find artists that want to do a monthly comic book. And so when we broke in, our generation broke in, Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, et al., that whole group. We just assumed the goal was to do a monthly book. That was there was no other options, right? You couldn't be a cover artist back then, right? There are lots of people now making a career as cover artists, right? Good for them. But doing a book and getting 20 pages out every month, kaboom, kaboom, that's getting harder. So they're like, Todd, how much are you gonna pay me? I can make that in 2 weekends at comic book conventions. Why do I need to work so hard? And the reality is, I get it. I probably would have made the exact same decision. Has now being old enough so I can be their dad a little bit, I'm telling you, that is not going to basically extend your career and get you to the top level, because you're going to be at the marketplace and you're only as good as the marketplace. So if you go and do what I'm suggesting, spend a couple of years and do monthly comic books, and you can make a mark, then when you go back to doing that, then you can do the exact same thing, but you'll get paid more. Here it is. And I'm not saying this bragging, I'm just saying this is reality. Yeah. Most of the guys that I'm going to sit next to, if I go to Artist Alley, they're going to do a Spider-Man head and they're going to be able to charge $50, right? Yeah. If I wanted to, I don't. I could do a Spider-Man head and charge $500. Yeah. So I can do one for every 10 of yours and get the same amount of money, right? I'm working less hard than you to get the same amount of money. And the reason was because when we were younger, we basically made our name and our rep, and now we can basically take advantage of the reputation, right? So, especially from an artist's point of view, right? Somebody's going to pay Jim Lee and Frank Miller and Greg Capullo and myself to draw head sketches till the day we die if we want, right? I mean, I could be on a beach and be 92 years old and somebody's still going to say, hey, Todd, can I get a Venom head? Right, and I'm still going to be able to do it. So that's it. I wish there was more monthly artists out there, but that's because I put out monthly books. And I bet you DC and Marvel would say the same thing.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it at all. Yeah. So you talk a lot about the process of making comics and everything. Like you said, you locked yourself in your room for like 10 hours. Has the pandemic impacted your like workflow or how you work at all?
Shit. Let me talk about the pandemic and about comic book and about the comic book. Here's pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I'll just show you what especially creators did pre-pandemic. We go in our rooms, we sit at our desk, and we just did it. And then the pandemic came, and we didn't even know it was here, right? We are built for solitude. Right. We are built to be by ourselves. We are built for isolation. That's the job. And that now people go, oh my God, I've got to be social. What are you talking about? We got a job that's antisocial, right? And so I would say comic book people, like we were built for a pandemic, right? Like if anybody could endure the pandemic, it's us. I know my wife is suffering way more than me because I'm just doing the same thing I've been doing for 25 years, right? You want to say it's a pandemic? I haven't even noticed. I haven't even stuck my head out because we work so hard. So I think we're good. So don't worry about us creators. I think we're just trained. We're trained for it.
What do you think the like thematic core of Spawn is? Like if you had to, I don't want you to totally boil it down, but like if you had one like core message or theme that you wanted to convey with Spawn, and I'm sure that's evolved over the years, but
yeah, it's one line. I will die a free man. Because I hope they put that on my grave, right? It's like, I'm not saying that the decisions that Al Simmons Spawn makes are right or wrong. I'm not saying he's a better hero than anybody else. Right. I'm saying he's a flawed man and he's going to make a bunch of stupid decisions just like me. But at the end, he just wants as many of those decisions to have been in his hands, and he doesn't want the influences of it, right? So right now, what's happening in the book is he's locked out what we call the dead zone, so there can't be any more agents from heaven and hell coming. And then he's going to hunt them all down. Those that are locked down on Earth, he's going to hunt them all down, even if it takes him the rest of his life, because he wants to just leave humanity alone. Let us mess up on our own, right? I'm sure we'll blow ourselves up with nuclear bombs and whatever else. We'll get there on our own time. We don't need any of you, right? He considers heaven and hell to be the exact same thing, right? I'd put myself a little bit in there. Just one's got a better PR firm, right? So he just like, I don't care about the upstairs influence or the downstairs influence. Just let us have our free will, live our lives, and let us create our own happiness. And that's enough. That's all any of us really sort of want, right? When you hear people talking at a restaurant and you talk to your friends, most of the conversation that they have that's negative is because somebody has some kind of power over them. Oh, my boss, those people, they're not letting me do this. Some guy did this. Did you hear what that guy did? On my Instagram, somebody said something. And you're giving power away to somebody else. And so his whole goal is to just go, I just want to be a free man and live my life, get out of the way, right? I'm completely that person. So it's easy for me to write. So, and then you punch people in the face every now and then with spandex. So you got to put the comic book part of it.
With an anti-hero like Spawn, and that kind of anti-heroes really seem to be in your wheelhouse, how do you balance making them...
So let's talk about it. It's a weird word, anti-hero. I consider the Boy Scout superheroes to be way more odd than an anti-hero.
Right.
For me, I don't get it, right? So I've said before, and here's the difference between Batman and Spawn, right? Joker comes, we're going to get geeky here.
Yeah.
Joker comes,
Please.
and this is real. Joker comes and he kills somebody, and then Batman beats him up and he sends him to jail, and then the system can't keep him in jail, and he comes out, and then he kills somebody, and then Batman beats him up, and he puts him into jail, and the system can't hold him. And then he comes out and he kills. And repeat this over and over and over and over. And I keep going, when's Batman going to wake up? There's an easy way to stop the Joker from killing people. Kill him.
Right.
Kill him. This is easy. Let me tell you, I've said it before. I've got 3 kids. And if there was a pedophile that was basically touching my kids and all the neighborhood kids, and he kept doing it over and over and over, and our government couldn't keep that guy off the streets, I am telling you, with complete honesty, hook me up to the lie detector. Me and a couple dads would go and pay that dude a visit. I don't know where he disappeared to.
Right.
He would be gone. I would stop it. If the system can't stop the killing, then at some point you have to basically take it into your own hands. And so Spawn is just reacting to that, saying, oh, there's an easy way for Billy Kincaid not to molest children.
Right.
I'll just take him out. I don't know. Anybody care that we just took out some violent pedophile? I don't know. It's more odd that people wouldn't do that if they've got the power.
So are you suggesting then that Spawn is actually more heroic than someone like Batman or
I'm saying he's more human.
Human.
I'd say that I think that's a way more rational decision making after you've seen the results over and over, right? The definition of insanity is thinking that somehow the same results are going to change, right? You could argue that a little bit for Bruce Wayne and certain superheroes. Why do you just keep giving them back to the system? They're going to keep getting out, right? Take them out.
Yeah.
Take them out. You have, and oh, by the way, if you take them out, nobody has to suffer at their hands anymore, right? Come on, guys, it's war. I guess it depends on what you think it is. Is it? Are you just doing law and order? Are you doing war? It's war. They've committed active treason. They're coming into cities and blowing up buildings, right? This is what Dr. Doom does. I mean, again, we're getting geeky here.
Yeah.
So this is what the bad guys do. They blow up buildings. And at some point, I assume people are in those buildings, and I assume some of them die. That's terrorism. And at that point, it's war. And at war, you go, and it's either kill or be killed at some point. So I don't know. Spawn Al Simmons is a military man, and then he's been trained in the military that there's the enemy, and it's either they're going to kill you, they're not, right? Look, if I have one regret in life, it's that I wasn't born like 1,000 years ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because 1,000 years ago, life was really easy. I have a strong opinion about what I believe in. I hope you do too, and I'm willing to die for it. I've got a sword, you got a sword. One of us is going to walk away, and one of us is going to lose their head, right? Foosh!
Yeah.
And you could do it, or I get my head cut off.
Yeah.
One or the other. Can't do that anymore. It's illegal to kill your enemy, right? It's frustrating to a guy like me. What you can do is sue them.
Right.
Take away market shares. Make sure you rip up their contract. Say things like, you'll never work in this industry. It's not nearly as satisfying as cutting your enemy's head off, right?
It's not that
So,
visceral.
yeah, come on. So I'm just like, I have this personality that I don't necessarily wish upon anybody else.
Right.
But it serves me, right? I never tell anybody to go, hey, here's what I do. You should repeat it. I'm just, when I talk, just like you're asking me a question, I'm telling you about Todd and nobody else on this planet. I'm not suggesting anybody should be it, but I know how I am. I'm like, oh man, it would have been cool to be on a field and go, all right, bad guys, let's go. And I would have died probably in fight number 2 because I would have been sloppy and everything else. But at least I would have gone out going, no, I'm willing to die for my convictions, right? So, which is why I start companies. I just go, no. right? I'm not going to complain about the boss. I'm going to start my own company and I'll be my own boss, right? So there are ways that you can solve your own problems. I wouldn't be a very good self-help person because everybody would come, pay $100, they'd get in, and I'd be done in 5 minutes. And it would go something like this: thank you for coming in, good crowd, everybody's here, good. Everybody, I taped something underneath the chair, I need you to pull it out, good. Everybody pulled it out, good. I want you to look at it, and good, what do you got? Yeah, it's a goddamn mirror, right? There's 90% of your problems. You keep thinking that it's somebody else, right? You only have dominion over the actions of one human being on the planet, and that's yourself, and you keep thinking that somebody else does, right? So I don't know. To me, I'm very black and white about a lot of things, right? I would never complain about how cold it is.
Right.
You know what I would do? I'd move to a warm place. Why bitch about the cold when there's warm places?
Yeah.
Move. I would never complain about my haircut. You know why? I'll just go get it cut.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just like, I hate the boss, then quit the job, right? But what ends up happening, you keep having conversations, go, I can't quit the job because I got to feed my babies. Right. And I go, I understand all of that. So you have to prioritize. And for me, it's very easily. You take whatever is your priority, you put it number one, and everything else in life is white noise.
Right.
There is no number two. There's only, I need to feed my babies. Then if you got to feed your babies and that's priority one, who cares if the boss is good or not? But now you're adding to it. You go, I need to feed the babies, that's priority one, and I want a good job, and I like my boss, right? I get it, but so would a billion other people like to have that, right? So you just got to pick the one. And once you sort of focus on the one, you can ignore the others very quickly and go, just a means to an end. I get food in my kid's mouth. Who cares if the boss wants to yell at me every day? As long as he's giving me a check every 2 weeks, good, fine. If for somebody else who's going, I don't care about feeding it, it's stressing me out. So then, okay, you need to go find another job, but I don't know. I just never had the mentality, because I was too competitive. I had brothers and we were always one upping each other. I could never be a guy at the water cooler. Because most water cooler conversations are about complaining. And I'm just like, I'll just go and do it. I don't like the way people are making toys. Do I know how to make toys? Of course I don't. Do I know anything about plastic? Of course I don't. Are we starting a toy company? Yep. Why? Because I don't see anybody that's going to do what I want. I can complain about it, I guess, or I can just do it, right? This is a strange thing, let me tell you, about the internet. I can honestly tell, I don't quite understand why people want to give their opinions about everything, especially negative stuff. It's really odd to me. It seems like, man, that's a lot of time to give a dissertation about why you don't like that rock band. Why didn't you just, in that time it took you to, why didn't you just go to Target and go buy the music that you like? I don't know, this is weird to me. Like, you can solve this. You can solve this. You don't have to buy that. You don't have to consume it. You can actually just go and consume what you like. So anytime I've ever gotten any criticism, my answer is the same to everybody. Spend your money on things that give you personal joy. That's it. That's my answer to all of it. I don't like it. Spend your money on, like, only you can prevent forest fires. You control yourself. I control myself. This is what I'm doing. You don't have to sort of come to my side of the fence. Go and do it. Why you want to give me a dissertation on why you don't want to do it? It's really odd, right? I just, look at it, I said before, I don't like Brussels sprouts. I have never gone to brusselssprouts.com and told them that. How dare you grow these things? I do not like this. I don't like them. My friends say they are terrible. Like, I just don't fucking eat them. Done, problem solved, right? This is the same thing. You don't like what I do, don't consume it. I don't know, like, but why you want to tell me about it? Just don't. This is fixable in 2 seconds, right? But anyways, you do you, I'll do me.
So would you say good advice to creators is do you advise ignoring critics completely, or how much is that?
Yes.
Completely?
Yes. Is it an easy thing to do? For some people, no. Right? No. And here's how, to me it's all math. It's all math. Let's say I've got 2 million fans. Okay, so you take 2 million, let's just do the math real quick. 2 million, divide it by the population of the planet, 8 billion, right? You get a fraction. Now you take the fraction, you round it to the nearest whole number. You know what that number is? 0, it's 0. Okay, so I got 2 million fans, and the number to the whole integer compared to the population of the planet is 0. So let's play it out. I show somebody a cover. All 2 million of them like me.
Yeah.
That's the best cover you've ever done in your life. 0% of the population just said that.
Right.
Okay, I put out that same cover. All 2 million people that follow me hate it. It's still 0.
Right.
So on my best day, everybody loves me, I'm a 0. And on my worst day, I'm a 0. I wake up every day knowing I'm a 0. It is liberating. It is free.
Right.
That nothing I do matters. So I'm just going to do what I like. And either way, I'm a 0.
Right.
Woo!
Yeah.
Right? Maybe Michael Jordan, maybe LeBron James, and maybe, Dwayne Johnson. Maybe they're like 2%ers, right? Because of the population. But I'm a 0, and I'm never going to get beyond that number.
Right.
So it's like, oh, by the way, I'm not putting stuff out on social media for your affirmation. I'm just saying, this is my cover.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And if you love it, I'm not changing a fucking line. And if you hate it, I'm not changing a fucking line.
Right.
I'm not asking whether you like it or not. I'm just saying this is it.
Yeah.
And it's now, if you like it or you don't like it, I'll let you decide, because you have dominion over yourself, to buy it or not. But that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my Brussels sprout. I'm not changing it.
All right. I do think that's all the time we have. It was really nice talking to you,
Evan,
man.
good job. You were like a 10-year pro.
Thank
You're
you.
like
Thank
a
you for
10-year
giving
pro.
A good interview.
Yeah, no, you're good, right? So, anyways, I hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Hope to see you.
Yeah.